value from that to give you familiarity with the platform, and also with what we're going to be doing and the style with which we deliver the challenges to you. Thing to keep in mind is that the challenges are not teaching modules, they're learning modules. So they're much more about you getting the hang of how things work by getting some hands-on experience. So don't expect to be taken through everything step by step in every challenge. We're expecting as you go through, you'll remember the things that you learned in the previous challenges, and that'll help you get going. So what I'm going to do is take you through the next one, and it becomes a little bit less what I call prescriptive. It doesn't say do all these things in this exact order. What it's going to say is these things need to be done, and you're going to have to find your way through them. And the idea is, if you don't know, go and have a look, search on the forums, do the research, because there's loads of information on the through Google. You can find this, or DuckDuckGo, whatever search engine you want to use. There's also material on the platform, and we provide lots of links to information that can help you. So as Monica got you through files, the next step that opens up is JCL1. And the JCL1 challenge has the same sort of style to it. It does an introduction. You'll see again that we've got this reference up here in the top right, where you can always go and get hold of the PDF to download if you can't see it in the inline viewer. The purpose of this one is to give you some experience with, you've already used it a couple of times, this job control language, JCL. And JCL is used to essentially, more than anything else, is to link programs to data. Most of what you want to do in any computing environment is say, I want to run a program against some data, and that data might change or might move around depending on which version of the data I want to use, what day of the week it is, what month. So you might run the same program but use different data. So what this challenge is about is trying to get you familiar with the idea of what a program thinks its input and output is. And you always hear that being referred to as files. They use files to get things into them and to write things back out. So you'll hear of file I/O, file input output. So programs think of the world as files. They can read from files, they can write to files. But as Monica said, the way that the ZOS environment works is about data sets. So data sets are instances of files. So they have data in them, and those data, they can be in different versions of those files, can have different versions of the data. You can make copies of them and have the different names for them. But they can be used as files to put into programs. So you'll see a quick example here. If you look into one of the jobs, you're going to see what a job control sequence looks like. So you'll find the members that you're looking at in the ZXP public.jcl members will look something like this. It's going to have a line at the top that says there's a job. That has to be the first line in any job that's running, and you'll see it always has / at the start. Those two slashes are necessary for it to be marked as this looks like it might be job control language for the job processor. If you ever get a message that says the first record does not begin with //, make sure you're actually trying to submit something that looks like JCL. You might be trying to submit the source code for a program instead. It'll take you through some examples. The next one that's of major importance here is an exec statement. And that exec statement here has a program, or sometimes it'll have a procedure. But most of the cases you're looking at will have a program to run. And that program is going to say what program to run and what files it needs. And these are usually determined by the program. The person that develops the program says what the files are that it expects to read from and write to. The statement here, the DD statement, is a data definition statement that says whenever the program wants to use this file, we will attach that file to this data set. So this is the data set that's going to be used for this program, so that when it tries to read its sysproc file, it'll find things from this vendor.clist dataset, right? So there's two things going on. One is the datasets are where data is actually stored, and files are where programs try and read from them. And JCL is about linking the file that the program wants to use with a data set that is currently available to it, or that it can create. So you'll see there's that disp parameter is about disposition. It tells you about how to create new ones, how to share existing files that are there, or take what we call an exclusive lock so nobody else can change it while you're using it. So this whole exercise is about getting familiar with the difference between files, data sets, and the link between them, which is what the job does. So you can read through that. It'll take you through the rest of the example. But what we're doing is kind of throwing you in, let's not say at the deep end, but kind of in the middle of a swimming pool and saying, can you wade through here? Right? You're not expected to swim out of your depth, but we're asking you to do something really simple with JCL. And that's about a program that tries to read the data, read some files, and the data sets that are available for you to do that. So you click on the continue reading. It's going to take you into the little quiz. But here's the example of the JCL that we're going to work with. You've got, in this case, we've got a program called COBOL. It's going to run against some files. You'll see it's got F names, L names, and combined files. And this is the program saying, I want you to run it, and here's where the data should be coming from and where we're going to write to. We submit that to ZOS in the same way that Monica did, by using a submit job, and off we go. So again, we go through the little quiz. What elements might you find in JCL? So we're going to look for the input and output programs that the program needs to run. You don't need machine serials. You probably don't need authentication codes for banking. So let's say it's the input output for the program to run, when a JCL gets submitted, it's a job control language. So when it gets created and submitted, it produces a job. So a job is the JCL running. Right? So think of it like a program, again, a scripted program. So we'll take it as a job. And here, what's the name of the program that the JCL was seeking to run? Right? And we'd said it's not that one. That's a dataset name, so it's definitely not that. This one down here is a DD name, which says it's not a program. So this one is the name of a program we want to run, which is the COBOL program. You don't have to know any real COBOL for this, but we're going to kind of throw you into a little bit of COBOL, because you'll come across it on most enterprise systems. You'll find that we're going to come across COBOL. We might come across PL1. You might come across Rex. So we'll try and give you the feeling of all of those as you go along. So to unlock the next challenge, which is the one after JCL1, what we're going to do is do these next steps, submit the required JCL, same as we did for the files one, and make sure that we do the challenge complete. So let's get on to here. You'll see it's in the same style. So my viewer opens up in here, and we can zoom it out a bit. And it's going to take you through the same kind of things. We're going to load up some JCL, and it's going to tell you where to find it. It's going to be JCL setup. This is the kind of job that will set up data sets for you. So you already have some, but you will need some other ones to make this work. So what we'll do is, if I switch over to my VS Code, I need my password. So let me pick up my password from, where did I put that one? I had it written down, and I know I've just trashed it.
You could always just go to the completed challenge.
Yeah. Let me just go back to this. I can go back. You can always leave a challenge and then go back to it. Thank you, Monica. So if we go back to VSC1, there's my password. Now, if I go back into my available challenge, I'm still doing JCL1. Now you see it gives me a slightly different view, tells me where we were, and then we're back into the challenge. So we're going to go back to VS Code. I'll just put my password in here. Now I've got slightly different data sets here from Monica because I have a different ID and I've got a number of different systems that I connect to. But I'll open up my session for my Sentinel ID. And here we go. Let's make that all go away for the USS stuff for the moment. So you'll see I've got an input, the keys, a SEQDS, and a surprise data set. But what I need to do now is go into here. And as it said, I've got to go into the JCL setup job. Here's my JCL setup job. Here's my user ID. I know I just pasted that in, so it should have worked. Bear with me a second. That was all set up, ready to go, and it's not taking them. So ZIG29YAP. That's annoying.
I guess we could show them how to do the reset.
Yeah, because I did this earlier on and it was working fine. So thanks. Let's go to one of the challenges, which you will need every 60 days or so. Your mainframe password will time out. So we have a challenge here to reset the password. And what we do is go into this. I want to reset my password. I'll go down here, reset the password. So it'll tell you all about how you can use them and so on there. You'll say my password's been reset. Now, it's been reset, but all the places that you've got it stored have to be updated. So what we do here is have a look at my systems. So there's a new password at 34K. Might be happening is my keyboard. It's messy. All right, let's try that again. Let's try again, just for good measure. Dave's list is refreshing. There we go. I swear, every time I did that, it was working. Now it's not. I'll do, just for the purposes of doing this, let me show you the alternative here so that we can see the data sets. And it makes sense for you to be able to see them. So the idea here is that there's a COBOL program. You don't need to change anything in the COBOL program. We're trying to make it very clear in the instructions. And one thing I wanted to try and make clear, whenever you see these challenges, it's worth, instead of going through the steps, do step 1 and then read step 2 and do step 2 and read step 3. Read through the document, because there'll be things in there which will explain things to set a scene for you. If you read through them in advance, then you'll know what's coming. And some of the instructions are things to do with what you do when things break. It doesn't mean you should do them in order. You should only do them when things break. So we're going to take our job. We'll submit it. Let me switch back across to VS Code. So in our public JCL, we have a JCL setup. In here, you can say why you're going to run this. This is to run a link between the COBOL, which has a file reference for it, the JCL DD name, which is the name of that step, which is the name of the file. So you match the file name to the COBOL, and then the dataset name, which is where that link between the file name is to go right now to the data sets that are going to be used. Right, so you'll see this program is using this program is used for just creating data sets or for lots of things. We're going to create these data set names over here, and these will be used for files. And this particular job really doesn't care what they are. It just creates the data sets. And once it's created the data sets, you're going to be asked to go into your filter down here. You'll see your job run. You've seen all this with Monica. So you check that your job's run, and it should give you a return code 0 if it's the first time you've run it. If you get anything odd, it's probably because you're trying to run it again. And there are some instructions at the end for what happens if you try and run it more than once. So now we're going to kick off some COBOL, which is the more interesting part of this. We go into the public data set again. We look for JCL2. And you'll see here, this program here, we've got some steps we can run. So it's not just one program that's going to run, there's going to be 3. One is to do some pre-checks. Again, we'll make sure the point here is we're trying to get the link between the file in the COBOL, the dataset name, and the DD name, use it to link them all together. And what this program does, instead of running a program, it runs a procedure which takes the COBOL source code, which you don't need to change at all. Don't need to worry about it. It compiles the COBOL and then runs it. So this run step says run that COBOL code. We're going to look for 3 files that are going to be used, and these are the places that you should find them. 2 of them are the public input data sets, and one of them is your output data set. And these are the files that COBOL expects to use. And at the end, it does a check to make sure you've got the file in the right place. Okay? So when you run that job, it will fail the first time. It's designed to fail the first time, because in the instructions, it'll tell you if everything works that you get 0, but you won't get 0. You'll get this abend, and an abend means the program abnormally ended. It didn't finish doing what you had in your job to tell it to do. So you have to go into the job and find out what it is that's the problem. And in the job itself, what you'll find is that there are errors that tell you that the file's not found. It cannot find a file. And if you look in here in the part of the COBOL that we're particularly interested in this file control section, which we've been telling you about in each of the jobs, the file control section has 3 names that it's looking for: F names, L names, and combined. Now, if we give you the clue here, you'll see in this file we have, in the job control, we have the program running, we have F names, L names, and we have a file here called combine. Here we say, these are the ones that we're looking for: combined L names and F names. So what we're looking for here is a really simple change to the job, just the job, to make it easier for the program to match the COBOL file name to your current data set. All right, so really simple change here. It says very simple change. And that very simple change is to match the file names you have here, F names, L names, and combined, to those 3 names: F names, L names, and That is what we're looking for. Right there, there's a missing letter. Combined would make the link in the COBOL program to the DD name. So the append message tells you it can't find combined, and that's because this bit doesn't say combined, it says combine. And it's really simple for a computer to try and do things when you've not given it the right information, and it will just crash. And that's what happens here. You make that really simple change, save it, and go and do again. Right? That's all you have to do. The next step is to go through another file in JCL3. JCL3 has lots of little steps that puts one record into a file one at a time called the JCL3 out dataset, and it will create it for you. But what you're told to do is to look for and remove any duplicates. And you'll see there are things like this is a kind of glaring duplicate. And down here, you'll see things like this one, and then here's another one. So in the instructions, we're going to tell you about how do you comment out things, or you can just delete the things that are going to produce the duplicate errors. Fix your JCL3. So you have to get JCL2 and JCL3 fixed. So both of them run okay. And then right at the very end, when we've done all of those things, you run the last step, which is check JCL1. And JCL1's job is to make sure that the output from your JCL3 step looks right. It doesn't have any duplicates, as is in this step 14. And that your JCL2 has the right output in the right place without you having to change any COBOL, and really only just putting that one letter in to the JCL itself to fix the problem. Okay. And when you've done that, you do the complete the challenge. We switch back across to my sadly not working ID, which is very sad. I'll go back to my learning. To my fundamentals, and I should still be partway through JCL1. I can say I'm done with it because I've done everything and got the codes right. It will then do the validation to make sure it's okay, and it'll give me credit. And when that's done, it will open up JCL4. It'll open up the USS challenge, which is the fourth challenge along. Right? So look through the content of each of the challenges from JCL1 onwards. Make sure you understand everything that needs to be done, which things are to handle errors and which things are to things that you need to do, and where you're going to go off and have to look up some stuff or think about it a little bit, because we're not teaching you this, we're helping you learn how to do it on your own. And using the forums is a great way, as Monica said, to find out who's had the similar kind of problem and how did they solve it, and is it something that you can use straight away. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Monica, and we're a couple of minutes over. Sorry about losing the access rights. There's something clearly amiss with my laptop.
No, all good. Thank you, Ross. Hopefully that was a good insight for you on the JCL challenge. Like Ross said, at least I know for the first two challenges, we really try and walk you step by step just so you feel comfortable with the platform and using VS Code. But as we get into JCL and the future challenges, we do loosen the reins, and we do ask you to think about what you are doing. And if you don't get it right away, that's okay. That's where you turn to the forums or take a step away and come back and really think about what you are doing and why you are doing it. So that was our first walkthrough. Thank you again. I know we ran a few minutes over, so appreciate you all sticking with us. I know we put it in the chat, but this session is recorded and we will be posting it and sending out an email as well. So if you want to come back and look at this, feel free. We will have future sessions as well if this time didn't work or you want to just listen again, because I know for me, repetition is great. So thank you, Megan. I don't know if there are any other closing remarks, but thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, you really covered it. The last thing I wanted to say is we will be having our next webinar. We'll go over the last three challenges of fundamentals to get you right up to those concept videos. So stay tuned for that. We will be sending out an email along with the recording. So thank you, Ross. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, guys.